Good morning, everyone. We're here for our March 5th meeting of the Conflicts of Interest Board. I'm Milt Williams, the chair, and we're going to proceed to our open meeting.
Thank you, Chair Williams. We're going to designate Deputy General Counsel Christopher Hammer as our recording secretary, and the board's Director of Annual Disclosure, Catherine Miller, is going to provide some introductory remarks before we open it up for discussion.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ethan. So staff returns to the board with revisions to the proposed amendments to Board Rules Section 404, which defines the category of contract filers under the city's annual disclosure law. At its prior open meeting, the board asked staff to revise the rule to explicitly exclude public servants whose involvement with contracts was limited to making recommendations. While working to incorporate that into the rule and reflecting on the board's discussion at that meeting, staff ended up rethinking the framework of the proposed rule and has revised the rule based around the two core elements found in the annual disclosure law's description of a contract filer. The first element being the types of matters handled by public servants, and the second being the work performed by those public servants on such matters. To that end, staff substantially revised the statement of basis and purpose and in the rule split the exceptions into two separate sections, one addressing matters and one addressing the work of the public servant. Additionally, while revising the rule in the section of matters that are not considered contracts, staff added the settlement of legal claims against the city, so that would not be considered a contract for the purposes of the rule.
All right, so let's open it up for any discussion.
Well, it might be described as myths. I mean, I think the rule's terrific. I have a few questions, comments about the statement of basis and purpose. I think maybe be helpful just if people are ever looking at this history and wanting to get a clear idea of what I'm thinking. But I'm looking at the tracked version. That's Exhibit 3. And I'm looking at page 4 of that. As an 8-page document. I'm looking at page 4 of Exhibit 3. And kind of in the middle of that, it talks about we thought that certain matters did fall under the legal term contracts, and it says, for example, and that's and this one, these I think are probably the less of my comments, but the first talks about certain has a right to certification, and in looking at the rule, I didn't see anything that distinguished one kind of certification from another. So I didn't know what that word certain added. And maybe if I were, my understanding is right, my suggestion would be to drop that word.
Yeah.
And then the next, right after that, the acceptance of gifts to the city, that's offered as an example of something that might be thought of as a contract. Hard for me to think how a gift to the city might be thought of as a contract, but maybe it is. Maybe it could be. I don't know.
So I included that in here as one of the exceptions in the statement of basis first because we had an experience where an agency did think that perhaps that was a contract.
Oh.
So we were.
Well, yeah, I suppose you could think anything about something. But did they have a arguably rational basis for thinking that?
It was based on the fact that there was a document that parties signed.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, I don't feel very strong about that. Here's the one that it's this next part about the micro purchases and the effect. I think part of our thinking at the last meeting we discussed this is it was as reflected here. It didn't seem to be what they were talking about, and there would be 1 million people required to file if they were included. But that feels more like, as phrased here, it suggests that was our only grounds for doing that, and it feels more like a policy decision than a reading of the statute, right? I don't think the statute could possibly be read to include these micro purchases. Maybe particularly at one extreme, the big difference between a contract and walking into Staples with a P card because your school's short on paper and you want to buy half a dozen reams or something. there's not a lot of negotiation going on there at Staples, at least in my experience. But I wonder if there's something in the PPP law, the policy procurement law, or the rules that say that maybe somebody said these rules don't apply to some kind of micro purchase, to have some kind of we're standing on some kind of legal footing as opposed to a judgment is absolutely right. It would be nonsense to require these people to file. But this feels a little bit more like us being the legislator rather than just interpreting the statute. I don't know. Maybe I go too far there.
We can certainly look at the rules for micro purchases and see if the law there actually sets out the basis for why micro purchases are treated differently, or we can see if there's some sort of legislative history on that subject where we can point to that as for the same policy reasons.
If I had any hesitancy in raising this, it would be just kind of push it off to another meeting. But we're not in any hurry to get these out.
No, I think we're not in a hurry. We should get it right.
Yep.
That's all I got.
Okay.
Any other thoughts, concerns? Okay, well then, we will push that off. We will table this rule, adjourn for.
What is the approximate time range that we're thinking in terms of wanting to get them out?
Well, we have an existing rule that is functioning, it's been the rule for
Right.
at least a couple of decades, right?
But I'm
So,
asking you guys, when would you like to have these officially designated, promulgated, whatever?
I don't know.
So agencies just designated their filers, so we've got a year,
Okay.
maybe less. Well, ideally, we'd have this by the end of the year so that when we'd have it finalized, adopted.
Calendar year.
Yes,
Yeah.
effective by the end of this calendar year so that they could, next year.
So we have until what, about November?
We'll come back to the next meeting
Yeah.
with, proposed edits for or however
Alright.
to address
Right.
this, and then
Okay,
that should get the ball rolling.
understood.
Okay, so we'll bring this back next month, having worked on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.